Shomai and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking to you a bit about the origins of Celtic and the spread of the Celtic language family. I'm not going to go into great detail about the language family itself, just about where it comes from and kind of how and when it spread. Now, there's been various theories over the years about where it come from, and one of them is that it comes from the East Austria, and it was spread with an art style called the Hallstatt art style, which is typically seen as a Celtic art style, and that's because a massive abundance of this style artifacts were found in Hallstatt in Austria. And it's believed then that it originated there and it kind of spread over the rest of what became the Celtic world. But spreading language with art style is not a very good theory, to be honest with you. So I don't think many people believe this theory anymore. The other theory is that Celtic comes from the West, and this is a pretty recent theory, and it's essentially based on inscriptions that have been found in Portugal, and it's from a language that we call Tartessian. Some people believe that this is a Celtic language, and some people don't. A lot of people don't, to be honest. This idea hasn't caught on very well, and it sort of hinges this whole argument on the fact that Tartessian is Celtic, and it would be the oldest Celtic inscriptions that would have been found then. What, in my opinion, probably is the best theory, and this is inspired by a paper by Patrick Sims Williams, which is called An Alternative to Celtic in the West and in the East, and I will put the link in the description down below. It's a very good paper, so I would advise reading it. It's not very long, but spoiler alert, it theorizes that Celtic doesn't come from the East or the West, but it comes from more of the center of those extremities, and it's found in, or it was originated in Gaul. Now, there is actually very good evidence for this, because Celtic shares a lot of features with Italic languages, and it shares features with Germanic languages that Germanic and Italic languages don't share themselves. So that would kind of place Celtic in the middle between Germanic and Italic speakers. And this is pretty much right in Switzerland and in northern Italy. We have Celtic inscriptions, Lepontic inscriptions, which are factually the oldest Celtic inscriptions that we have. And that is from northern Italy. So we have these two great pieces of evidence. The inscriptions on their own wouldn't be amazing, but the fact that we have this other evidence from comparing it to the other languages around it, because these Celtic, or to be Celtic speakers and to be Germanic and to be Italic speakers, were all speaking the same language at one point. They were speaking Proto-Indo-European, and there was probably this dialectal continuum over where the to be Italic, Germanic, and Celtic speakers originated. And so that is why these languages share some features from each other. Now, going back to the Tartessian thing, if Tartessian was Celtic, it would be the oldest Celtic inscriptions. It would be something like around the 800s BCE, which is around the time that's theorized that Proto-Celtic was actually breaking up and becoming its the separate branches of Celtic. But one thing that does support Tartessian, and this has no relevance on when or whether Tartessian is Celtic, or if it's not Celtic. I don't think it is. It's got features that don't seem very Celtic. It could be Celtic, but there is almost certainly Celtic names in the inscriptions, which means there was Celtic people there at the time, which means there was Celtic speaking people there at the time. So whether Tartessian is Celtic or not, it doesn't matter. There was definitely Celtic speaking people in the area when these inscriptions were written. Now, just because it's the oldest written evidence of Celtic we've got, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Celts started there. It's the same, like I said about Lepontic earlier. If it was just the inscriptional evidence, then I would say then no, we wouldn't be able to tell. It's obvious that Proto-Celtic speakers left where they originated and walked over to Spain and Portugal. And they walked to Britain and then over to Ireland. And then it kind of started to break up into the languages after this point, after they'd walked to these places. So there is quite a few, well, there's a few different models of the Celtic family tree. I'm not going to go into great detail right now. I'll do another video on this, but I believe that Proto-Celtic speakers walked to the Iberian Peninsula. They kind of and developed the Celt-Iberian branch. They walked to Britain, and then after arriving at Britain, the Celtic language came over to Ireland, and we have this Insular Celtic branch. And I believe after the first wave of, or a few waves of Proto-Celtic speakers left northern Italy and Switzerland, the Celtic speaking people there developed a Gallo-Lepontic branch, and then those Gallo-Lepontic people spread into further into Gaul again. And like I said, I will make another video, and I'll go into the other theorized branches and the families, and I'll give evidence about why I think it is the way it is. But I hope this has been insightful, and I would love to see other people's opinions on it. I'd love to see counter evidence, and I'd like to see more evidence that supports this. So thank you very much for visiting the channel, taking time to watch this video, and thank you very much for the interest. Have a great day.